You can see the sun from that way. It's really shiny. Um, that's so. Yesterday I didn't do it because I was too busy with my homework. So I finish when I finish my homework. It's already 23 over 23, almost 24. So I I didn't do it. That's so bad. I like to read The Little Princess so much. Now she already mm, now she already knew the Indian gentleman next door, and the next door Indian gentleman know a poor girl next door, but they don't know each other. Um, Sarah know that Indian gentleman was looking for a little girl, but she didn't know uh, he was looking for her. And the Indian gentleman think thought if Sarah was the little girl uh, he was he was looking for, but no evidence. So let's see what happened. What Melchizedek heard and saw. From this title, I think maybe something interesting happened. On this very afternoon, while Sarah was out, a strange thing happened in the attic. Only Melchizedek saw and heard it. Much alarmed and mystified that he scuttled back to his hole and hid there. Quaked and trembled as he peeped out furtively and with great caution to watch what was going on. The attic had been very still all day after Sarah had left in the early evening. The stillness had only been broken pa- uh, by the pattern of the rain, patter, pattering, by the pattering of the rain upon the slates and the sunlight. Melchizedek had, in fact, found it rather dull, and when the rain ceased to patter, and perfect silence, I will check this word. F-U-R, furtive. Oh, furtive means 鬼鬼祟祟的. Peep out furtively. ，foot 带毛的 foot，no foot，
furtive,
鬼鬼祟祟的。Let's see what foot means. Is that foot? No foot. Foot. No foot. Just furtive. Just maybe just for okay. 破皮毛的人造毛。Furtively and with great caution to watch what was going on. The attic had been very still all the day after Sarah had left in the early morning. The stillness had only been broken by the pattering of the rain upon the slates and the skylight. Upon the skylight, 天花天灯 Melchizedek had in fact found it rather dull, and when the rain ceased to patter, and the perfect silence reigned, rain, just rain. 主导 and the perfect silence reigned. He decided to come out and reconnoiter, reconnoiter, and reconnoiter, though experience taught him that Sarah would not return for some time. Reconnoiter, reconnoiter. 哦，侦查。
Reconnoiter.
Reconnoiter. Right. Reconnoiter. 侦查。Reconnoiter. Though experience taught him that Sarah would not return for some time, he had been rambling and sniffing. He had been rambling and sniffing about. And had just found a total unexpected and unexplained crumb left from his last meal, when his attention was attracted by a sound on the roof. He stopped to listen with a palpitating heart. Palpitate 悸动，突突的跳，颤抖。Palpitating.
Palpitate.
Palpitating. 心脏悸动。palpitating heart. The sound suggested that something was moving on the roof. It reached the skylight. The skylight was being mysteriously opened. A dark face peered into the attic. Then another face appeared behind it, and both looked in with sight of caution and interest. Two men were outside of the roof and were making silent preparation to enter through the skylight itself. One was Ramdas, and the other was a young man who was Indian gentleman's secretary. But of course, Melchizedek did not know this. He only knew that the men were invading the silence and the privacy of the attic, and as the one with the dark face let himself down through the aperture with some lightness. Aperture. Oh, yes, 孔洞。
Aperture.
Aperture, 孔洞. I already checked it. 动动 Aperture with such lightness and dexterity, dexterity, dexterity,
Dexterity.
dexterity, yes，敏捷 ，dexterity，上次也说了，它敏捷，dexterity。With such lightness and dexterity that he didn't make the slightest sound. Melchizedek turned precipitately precipitately, precipitately,
Precipitately.
precipitately, precipitately,
Precipitately.
precipitately, 猛的，猛地 precipitately，precipitate 下至由高处抛下，猛的，仓促的，仓促到下，仓促的，突然发生。Precipitately back to his hole. He was frightened to die. He had ceased to be timid with Sarah. He had ceased to be timid with Sarah. He had ceased to be timid with Sarah and knew he would never throw anything but crumbs and would never make any sound other than the soft, low, coaxing whistling. But strange men were dangerous things to remain near. He lay close and fled near the entrance of his home, just managing to peep through the crack with a bright, alarmed eye. How much he understood of the talk he heard, I'm not in the least able to say, but even if he had understood it all, he would probably have remained greatly mystified. The secretary, who was light and young, slipped through the skylight as noiselessly as Ramdas had done, and he caught a light glimpse of Melchizedek's vanishing tail. Was that all right? He asked Ramdas in a whisper. Yes, all right, Sabir, answered Ramdas, also whispered. There are many in the walls. Exclaimed the young man. It is a wonder the child is not terrified of them. It is a wonder. It is a wonder the child is not terrified of them. Ramdas made a gesture with his hand. He also smiled respectfully. He was in the place as the intimate exponent of Sarah, though she had only spoken to him once. ex- exponent. He was in this place at the intimate. He was in this
Exponent.
exponent.
Exponent. Exponent.
Oh,
Exponent.
exponent. Exponent. 详细的说。He was in this place as the intimate exponent of Sarah, though she had only spoken to him once. The child is the little friend of all things, Sahib. Ah, he answered. He is not as other children. I see her when she doesn't see me. I sleep across. I sleep I sleep across the slates and look at her many nights to see that she is safe. I watch her from my window when she doesn't know I'm near. He stands on the table there and looks out at the sky as if it spoke to her. The sparrow come at her call. The rat she had fed and tamed in her loneliness. The poor slave of the horse comes to her for comfort. The poor slave of the horse comes to her for comfort. There is a little child who comes to. There is one older who worship her and to her, would listen to her forever if she met. I would scrape across the roof by the mistress of the horse, who is an evil woman. She is treated she is treated like a pari, pari, pariah, 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 贱
Pariah.
pariah. She is treated like a pariah. Right, but she has the bearing of a child who is of the blood of king. You see to you seem to know a great deal about her, the secretary said. All her life each day I know, answered Ramdas. Her going out I know, and her coming in, her sadness and her poor joys, her coldness and her hunger. I know when she is alone until midnight, learning. I know when she secret friends steal to her, and she is happier as children can be, even in the midst of the poverty. They come and she may laugh and talk with them in whispers. In whispers. If she should know, and I would come and serve her if it might be done. You are sure no one comes near this place but herself, and that she will not return and surprise us? She would be frightened if she found us here, and the Sa and Sahib, and Sahib Crisford's plan would be spoiled. Ramdas crossed noiselessly to the door and stood close to it. None mount here but herself, Sahib, he said. He has gone out with her basket and may be gone for hours. If I stand here, I can hear Annie's step before it reached the last flight of the stairs. The secretary took a pencil and a tablet from his breast pocket. Keep your ears open, he said, and he began to walk slowly and softly round the miserable little room, making rapid notes on his tablet as he looked at things. First, he went to the narrow bed. He pressed his hand upon the mattress and uttered an exclamation. As hard, he said, that will have to be altered someday when she is old. A special journey can be made to bring it across. It cannot be done tonight. He lifted the covering and examined the one thin pillow. Coverlet dingy and warm, blanket thin, sheets patched and ragged. She said, "What a bed for a child to sleep in, and in a house with calls itself respectable. There has not been a fire in the grate for many a day." Glancing at the rusty fireplace. "Never seen I have seen it," said Ramdas. "The mistress of the house is not one who remembered that another than herself may be called." The secretary was writing quickly on his tablet. He looked up from it as he tore off a leaf and slipped it into his breast pocket. "It was a strange way of doing the thing," he said. "Who planned it?" Ramdas made a modestly apologetic obeisance. Apology. I think it's 行礼吧. Yes, great. Obeisance.
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 Apologetic. Obeisance. 行礼. It's true that the first thought was mine, Sahib, he said, though it was not but a fancy. It was, though it was not but a fancy. Child, we are both lonely. It's her way to relate her vision to her secret friends. Being sad one night, I lay close to the open skylight and listened. The vision the vision she related told what this miserable room might be if it had comforts in it. She seemed to see it as and she grew cheered and warmed as she spoke. Then she came to this fancy, and the next day, the Sahib being ill and wretched, I told him of the thing to amuse him. It seemed then but a dream, but it pleased the Sahib. To hear of the child's doing gave him the entertainment. He became interested in her, and asked questions. At last, he began to please himself with the thought of making her visions real things. Oh, great! You think that you think that it can be done while she sleeps? Suppose she awakened, suggests the secretary, and it was evident that whatsoever the plan referred to was, it had caught and pleased his fancy as well as the Sahib uh, Carrisford. You think you think that is can be done with while she sleeps? Suppose she awakened, suggested the secretary, and it was evident that whatsoever the plan referred to was, it had caught and pleased his fancy as well as Sah- Sahib uh, Carrisford's. I can move as if my feet was uh, I can move as if my feet of it, Ramdas replied, and children sleep soundly, even the unhappy ones. I could have entered this room in the night many times, and without causing her to turn upon his pillow. If the other barrier passed to me, the things through the window, I can do all I can do I can do all, and she will not stir. When she awakens, she will think a medicine has been here. He smelled as if he smelled as if his heart warmed under his white robe, and the secretary smiled back at him. It will be like a story from the Arabian Nights, he sighed. Only an Oriental could have planned only an Oriental could have planned it. It does not belong to London folks. They did not remain very long, to the great relief of Melchizedek, who, as he probably did not comprehend their conversation, felt their movement and whispers, ominous, whispered, ominous, felt their movement and whispers, ominous, ominous, omi, ominous. I already checked it. 哦，不详的 whispers ominous. The young secretary seemed interested in everything. He wrote down things about the floor, the fireplace, the broken footstool, the old table, the walls, which last hand again and again, seeming such pleased when he found that a number of old nails had been driven in various places. You can hang things on them, he said. Ramdas smiled mysteriously. Yesterday, when she was old, he said, I entered, bring with my small sharp nails, which can be pressed into the wall without blows from a hammer. I place many in plastics where I may need them. They are they are ready. The Indian gentleman's secretary stood still and looked round him as he thrust his tablets back into his pocket. I think I have made notes enough. We can go now, he said. The Sahib carries Ford has a warm heart. It's a so it's a thousand pity that he has not found the thousand pity that he has not found the lost child. It's a thousand pity. It's it's a thousand pity. It's a thousand pity that he has not found the lost child. If he should find her, his strength would be restored to him, said Ramdas. His God may him yet. Then they slipped through the skylight as noiselessly as they had entered it, and after he was quite sure they had gone, Melchizedek was greatly relieved, and in the course of a few minutes felt it safe to emerge from his hole again, and scuffle about in the hope of even such alarming human being as this might have chanced to carry crumbs in their pockets and drop one or two of them. The magic! When Sarah had passed the house next door, she had seen Ramdas closing the shutters, and caught her glimpse of his this room also. It's a long time since I saw a nice place from the inside, was the thought which crossed her mind. There was the Euro bright fire glowing in the grate. There was the Euro bright fire glowing in the grate. And the Indian gentleman was sitting before it. His head was resting in his hand, and looked as lonely and unhappy as ever. Poor man, said Sarah, I wonder what you are supposing. And this was what he was supposing at that very moment. Suppose, he was thinking, suppose, even even if chemical, I should check this. Chemi, what can I find? Chemical, chemi, chemi, chemical,
Carmichael,
Carmichael, oh,
Carmichael,
Carmichael. Okay. Even if Carmichael traces the people to Moscow, the little girl they took from Madame Passeau's school in Paris is not the one we are in search of. Suppose she proves to be quite a different child. What steps shall I take next? When Sarah went into the house, she met me, who had come downstairs to scold the cook. Where have you whisked to scold the cook? Where have you wasted your time? She demanded. You have been out for hours. It was so wet and muddy hard to walk because my shoes were so bad and slipped about. Make no excuses, said Miss Minchin, and tell no falsehood. No falsehood. Ah. Sarah went in to the cook. Went in to the cook. The cook had received a severe lecture and was in a fearful temper as a result. She was only too rejoiced to have someone to vent her writ on. and Sarah was a convenience as usual. Why didn't you stay all night? She snapped. Sarah laid her purchase, pur- purchase, purchases, hmm, purchase, right? Just purchases,
purchases, purchases,
purchases, purchases. Laid her purchases on the table. Here are the things, she said. The cook looked them over, grumbling. She was in a very savage uh, humor indeed. May I have something to eat? Sarah asked rather faintly. "'Tis over and done with," was the answer. "Did you expect me to keep it hot for you?" Sarah stood silent for a second. "I had no dinner," she said next, and her voice was quite low. She made it low because she was afraid it would tremble. "Bread in the pantry," said the cook. "That's all you'll get at this time of day." Sarah went and found the bread. It was old and hard and dry. The cook was in vicious humor title. I think humor 心情 yes, vicious humor to give her anything to eat with it. It was always safe and easy to vent her spite on Sarah, really. It was hard for the child to climb the 3 long flight of the stairs lead to her attic. She often found them long and steep when she was tired, but tonight it seemed as if she would never reach the top. She was obliged to stop to rest. When she reached the top landing, she was glad to see the glimmer of a light coming from under her door. That meant that Ermengarde had managed to creep up to pay her a visit. There was some comfort in that. It was better than go into the room alone and find it empty and desolate. The mere presence of plump, comfortable Ermengarde wiped in her right shoe would warm it a little. Yes, there Ermengarde was when she opened the door. She was sitting in the middle of the bed with her feet tucked safely under her. She had met with Melchizedek and his family, though they rather fascinated her. When she found herself alone in the attic, she always preferred to sit on the bed until Sarah arrived. She had, in fact, on this occasion, had time to become rather nervous because Melchizedek had appeared and sniffed about a good deal, and once had made her utter a repressed squeal by sitting on his head by sitting on his head legs, and while he looked at her, sniffing pointedly in her direction. "Oh, Sarah!" she cried out. "I'm glad you have come. Mackie would sniff about so. I tried to coax, coax. I tried to coax him to go back, but he wouldn't for such a long time. I like him, but it does frighten me when he sniffs right at me. Do you think he ever would jump?" "No," answered Sarah. Ermengarde crawled forward on the bed to look at her. You do look tired, Sarah, she said. You are quite pale. I am tired, said Sarah, dropping onto the lopsided footstool. Oh, yes, Mackie said, putting. He's come to ask for his supper. Melchizedek, Mackie, Melchizedek had come out of his hole, as if he had been listening for her footstep. Sarah was quite sure he knew it. He came forward with an affectionate, ex- expectant, expectant expression as Sarah put her hand in her pocket and turned it inside out, shaking her head. I'm very sorry, she said. I haven't one crumb left. Go home, Melchizedek, and tell your wife there was nothing in my pocket. I'm afraid I forgot because the cook and Miss Minchin was so cross. Melchizedek seemed to understand. He shuffled resentfully, if not contentedly, back to his home. Resign, resign, 勉强，resent，顺从的，like yeah, it's resigned，顺从的，if not contentedly, resigned，顺从的，back to his home. I didn't expect to see you tonight, Amy, Sarah said. Ermengarde hugged herself in the red shawl. Miss Amelia has gone out to spend the night with her old aunt, she explained. No one else ever comes and looks into the bedroom after we are in bed. I could stay here until until morning if I wanted to. She pointed she pointed towards the table under the skylight. Sarah had not looked toward it as she came in. A number of books were piled upon it. Ermengarde's gesture was a dejected one. Papa had sent me some more books, Sarah, she said. There they are. Sarah looked round and got up at once. She ran to the table and, picking up the top volume, turned over its leaves quickly. For the moment, she forgot her discomfort. Ah, she cried out, how beautiful! Charlie French Revolution. Khalil. I was so wanted to read that. I haven't, said Ermengarde, and Papa will be so cross if I don't. She will expect me to know all about it when I go home for the holiday. What shall I do? Sarah stopped turning over the leaves and looked at her with an excited flush on her cheek. Look here, she cried. Books. I will read them and tell you everything that's in them afterward, and I will tell it so that you will remember it too. Oh, goodness! Exclaimed Ermengarde. Do you think you can? I know I can, Sarah answered. The little ones always remember what I tell them. Sarah, said Ermengarde, hope glooming in her round face. If you will do that and make me remember, I will give you anything. I don't want you to give me anything, said Sarah. I want your books. I want them. And her eyes grew big, and her chest heaved. Take them then, said Ermengarde. I wish I wanted them, but I don't. I am not clever, and my father is, and he thinks I ought to be. Sarah was opening one book after the other. What are you going to tell your father? She asked, a slight dot dawning. Ah, no, dawn, 黎明。哦，拂晓，黎明。drawing,
dawning,
dawning, dawning，拂晓，微光。dawning，端倪。a slight，我觉得是微光吧。in a slight dot dawning，端倪。in her mind. Oh, he needn't know, answered Ermengarde. He will think I'll read them. Sarah put down her book and shook her head slowly. That's almost like telling lies, she said. And the lies, well, you see, they are not only wicked, they are vigor sometimes. Reflectively, I have thought perhaps I might do something wicked. I might suddenly fly into a rage and kill Miss Minton, when she was ill-treating me. 上课了吗？Vigor, vulgar, 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 庸俗，vulgar 粗俗，vulgar 粗俗。Oh no. Why can't you tell your father I read them?